So welcome everybody, day 15, book reading of A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Work with and without ego. Most people have moments when they are free of ego. Those who are exceptionally good at what they do may be completely or largely free of ego while performing their work. They may not know it, but their work has become a spiritual practice. Most of them are present while they do their work and fall back into relative unconsciousness in their private life. This means their state of presence is for the time being confined to one area of their life. I have met teachers, artists, nurses, doctors, scientists, social workers, waiters, hairdressers, business owners, and salespeople who perform their work admirably without any self seeking, fully responding to whatever the moment requires of them. They are one with what they do, one with the now, one with the people or the task they serve. The influence such people have upon others goes far beyond the function they perform. They bring about a lessening of the ego in everyone who comes into contact with them. Even people with heavy egos sometimes begin to relax, let down their guard, and stop playing their roles when they interact with them. It comes as no surprise that those people who work without ego are extraordinarily successful at what they do. Anybody who is one with what he or she does is building the new earth. I have also met many others who may not be technically good at what they do, but whose ego constantly sabotages their work. Only part of their attention is on the work they perform. The other part is on themselves. Their ego demands personal recognition and wastes energy in resentment if it doesn't get enough. And it's never enough. Is someone else getting more recognition than me? Or the main focus of attention is profit over or power, and their work is no more than a means to an end. When work is no more than a means to an end, it cannot be of high quality. When obstacles or difficulties arise in their work, when things don't go according to expectation, when other people or circumstances are not helpful or cooperative, instead of immediately becoming one with the new situation and responding to the requirements of the present moment, they react against the situation and so separate themselves from it. There is a me that feels personally offended or resentful, and a huge amount of energy is burnt up in useless protest or anger, energy that could be used for solving the situation if it were not being misused by the ego. What is more, this anti energy creates new obstacles, new opposition. Many people are truly their own worst enemy. People unknowingly sabotage their own work when they withhold help or information from others or try to undermine them lest they become more successful or get more credit than me. Cooperation is alien to the ego except when there is a secondary motive. The ego doesn't know that the more you include others, the more smoothly things flow and the more easily things come to you. When you give little or no help to others or put obstacles in their path, the universe, in the form of people and circumstances, gives little or no help to you because you have cut yourself off from the whole. The ego's unconscious core feeling of not enough causes it to react to someone else's success as if that success had taken something away from me. It doesn't know that your resentment of another person's success curtails your own chance of success. In order to attract success, you need to welcome it wherever you see it. So when we talk about such kind of people, they're so dedicated towards their work, irrespective of what they are working. Okay. They could be at a sales counter, they could be, cleaning for you, they could be your drivers. But when they are doing that job, they are totally in the now. And that is how they are able to perform exceptionally well as compared to others. I mean, if you can recollect one experience when you went to a mall or you went to a departmental store, there was this one person who went out of the way to help you and probably didn't get anything in return, but he wanted to do his job because he was passionate about his job. So that is where you are in the now because you love it in the first place and you do not let anything come into that and you are able to perform exceptionally well. Those of you who were there in the book Ikigai, there was a very important lesson. Life में तीन चीजें. One is your passion, which you love to do. And it's like your hobby where, you would do anything to do that because this is your charger for the day. And no matter what happens, you will do it, be it going to the gym, be it whatever is your thing which you love to do, which is your charger, that's your passion. Second is your profession. What is it that is bringing the money in for everything? Because money is required for everything. You want food, you need to go and buy food. Okay, you want clothes, you need to go to the market, pay money and buy. So passion के साथ साथ आपका profession भी बहुत important होता है because that is what is giving in the money for everything you want to do. You want to attend Zoom classes, you need a device. So that device is not going to come free. There is the money involved. For the internet connection, you have to pay the monthly bill. So yes, money is important. Okay. And the third is, what is my purpose? In the sense, कि मैं यहाँ, as a soul, I am here on planet Earth. I'm here for a purpose. Okay. That's definitely sure that I'm here for a purpose. Now, what happens in a lot of people's life is that their passion, profession, and purpose, तीनों segregated होते हैं. That is where the confusion comes. That is where the irritation also starts coming. And that is where you get frustrated at times. So if you can get and align, okay, your passion, your profession, and your purpose all into one, that is where you will be in that present moment, in the now, and your the way you will be able to deliver whatever is it that your passion, purpose, and profession is, that will be world class. That's Ikigai is all about that. And Ikigai adds another thing called vocation, that is giving back to the society. So initially passion, profession, and purpose, इनको जितना आप पास लेके आओगे उतना आपकी परफॉर्मेंस भी बढ़ेगी, उतना you are more in the now, and you will less be bothered about what is happening around you, or you will not listen to your ego much. Because when it's passion, profession, and your purpose, you are talking about something which is collective. And ego does not know how to be collective. Ego has to have something in return. So if it's it always has a secondary motive, and that secondary motive is attention, anything. So always try to see if you can get these three aligned. Because if that is the case, you will be at your best in the present moment, and you will be able to, live that and experience what is it to be truly aware, truly be in the present. But yeah, it's not that easy. Okay, so पैशन मिल जाता है, पर्पस मिल जाता है, पैसे नहीं मिलते हैं, बंदा कहता है यार मैं खाऊंगा कैसे. सो यू हैव टू हैव योर प्रोफेशन. प्रोफेशन मिल जाता है, उसमें पैशन भी आ जाता है, बट वो हमारे पर्पस के साथ नहीं अलाइंड होता. देन ऑल्सो सो यस, इट्स अ ट्रिकी थिंग, बट यस, if if it gets aligned, that is an ideal life. So always have that in mind कि मेरा पैशन, पर्पस और प्रोफेशन, मुझे तीनों को कहीं ना कहीं, I have to get them close. And if it's not, see, the whole issue is everybody has some profession. So start making sure that your passion starts giving you some money, monetary return, so that yes, there is a possibility of that being as your profession. And honestly, for me, doing these book readings and charging a nominal amount is that this is my passion, and I know this is linked with my purpose. Somehow, let's see how it goes. मुझे भी 2 साल हो गए, but ये मेरा profession नहीं बन पा रहा है. Let's see where it goes. But yes, even if I get that 1 hour, 2 hour every day to do that, I am in a different zone, and I can feel that. I can feel that energy around me when I am there in that zone. So always get कि passion, profession और purpose तीनों को जितना match कर सकते हो for the maximum time possible, seeing all the other scenarios. You can't just say कि नहीं ये मेरा passion है, ये मेरा purpose है, पैसे हैं नहीं बस मैं चलूंगा. You won't be able to survive. You need money. So all three things needs to be aligned. घंटा कर सकते हो, 2 घंटा कर सकते हो. Just start doing that, because that will give you that perfect full charge for the next day. You would not need anything else. The ego in illness. An illness can either strengthen or weaken the ego. If you complain, feel self pity, or resent being ill, your ego becomes stronger. It also becomes stronger if you make the illness part of your conceptual identity. I am a sufferer of such and such a disease. Ah, so now we know who you are. Some people, on the other hand, who in normal life have a big ego, suddenly become gentle and kind and much nicer when they are ill. They may gain insights they may never have had in their normal life. They may access the inner knowing and contentment and speak words of wisdom. Then, when they get better, energy returns and so does the ego. When you are ill, your energy level is quite low, and the intelligence of the organism may take over and use the remaining energy for the healing of the body. So, there is not enough left for the mind, that is to say, egoic thinking and emotion. The ego burns up considerable amounts of energy. In some cases, however, the ego retains the little energy that remains and uses it for its own purposes. Needless to say, those people who experience a strengthening of the ego in illness take much longer to recover. Some never do, and so the illness becomes chronic and a permanent part of their false sense of self. So, whenever we get ill or we are in a state of dis-ease, it's very important to know that that is also there to teach you something. आप रोज बीमार नहीं होते हो. probably once in 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, whatever is the frequency. Okay. And in a lot of cases, people get more humbler. People start, because एक तो डर हो जाता है, पता नहीं मेरे साथ क्या होगा. Then you're like, अच्छा यार, जो है ये जो मेरा, somebody is taking care of you, कोई आपके लिए कुछ खाना ला रहा है, कुछ ला रहा है. So you genuinely feel thankful that there is somebody to look after me. Okay. That is where the humility inside grows. And you feel thankful कि यार there's somebody to look after me. मेरी इतनी बुरी हालत है, but फिर भी, these guys are going out of the way and doing for me. But yes, it can be the other way around. When you're ill and you feel that you can't do anything, you start shouting at people, तुम लोग मेरा ध्यान नहीं रख रहे हो, तुम लोग मेरे ये, that can boost the ego as well. So it can go in any direction, but yes, what's important to see is that is a nice test for testing where is it that the ego is going. Because if that state of dis-ease gets you to a state where you start becoming more humble and start respecting others and being thankful for others, that is a state wherein the ego starts to dissolve. Because one opposite of ego is being humble. Because ego cannot make you humble. Because what ego requires or what ego feeds on is attention. But humility is never about attention. It is only about giving. So these ego and being humble, they're two opposite sides of that same coin. So if during a state of dis-ease, you're getting towards being more humble, that is a time where you are actually moving from a direction of humility and stepping back and decreasing that egoic part of your mind. So all diseases, they should not happen to anybody. That's the intention. But when they do, just be aware that's a test for you, that's a test for the ego. And wherever you are, when you are able to now, after this knowledge in your awareness, now can be consciously aware of what is it that is happening, and now you can take actions accordingly. Where is it that you want to where is it that you intend yourself to move, in what direction? Because that choice in that moment is always with you. And always remember, every choice will have a consequence. Till the time we do not change the choice, the consequences will never change. The collective ego, how hard it is to live with yourself. One of the ways in which the ego attempts to escape the unsatisfactoriness of personal selfhood is to enlarge and strengthen its sense of self by identifying with a group, a nation, a political party, corporation, institution, sect, club, gang, football team. In some cases, the personal ego seems to dissolve completely as someone dedicates his or her life to working selflessly for the greater good of the collective without demanding personal rewards, recognition, or aggrandizement. What a relief to be freed of the dreadful burden of personal self. The member of the collective feel happy and fulfilled no matter how hard they work, how many sacrifices they make. They appear to have gone beyond ego. The question is, have they truly become free, or has the ego simply shifted from the personal to the collective? The collective ego manifests the same characteristics as the personal ego, such as the need for conflict and enemies, the need for more, the need to be right against others who are wrong, and so on. Sooner or later, the collective will come into conflict with other collectives because it unconsciously seeks conflict and it needs opposition to define its boundary and thus its identity. Its members will then experience the suffering that inevitably comes in the wake of any ego motivated action. At that point, they may wake up and realize that their collective has a strong element of insanity. It can be painful at first to suddenly wake up and realize that the collective you have identified with and worked for it actually is insane. Some people at that point become cynical or bitter and henceforth deny all values, all worth. This means that they quickly adopted another belief system when the previous one was recognized as illusionary and therefore collapsed. They didn't face the death of their ego, but ran away and reincarnated into a new one. The collective ego is usually more unconscious than the individuals that make up that ego. For example, crowds, which are temporary collective egoic entities, are capable of committing atrocities that the individual away from the crowd would not be. Nations are infrequently engaged in behavior that would immediately be recognizable as psychopathic in an individual. As the new consciousness emerges, some people will feel called upon to form groups and reflect the enlightened consciousness. These groups will not be collective egos. The individuals who make up these groups will have no need to define their identity through them. They no longer look to any form to define who they are, even if the members that make up those groups are not totally free of ego yet. There will be enough awareness in them to recognize the ego in themselves or in others as soon as it appears. However, constant alertness is required since the ego will try to take over and reassert itself in any way it can, dissolving the human ego by bringing it into the light of awareness. This will be one of our main purposes of these groups, whether they be enlightened businesses, charitable organizations, schools, or communities of people living together. Enlightened collectives will fulfill an important function in the arising of the new consciousness. Just as egoic collectives pull you into unconsciousness and suffering, the enlightened collective can be a vortex of consciousness that will accelerate the planetary shift. So when we are talking about the ego and the collective ego, it's very important to note that बड़े लोग होते हैं जो collective ego को इतना strong कर लेते हैं and they feel that they're doing a very good job because they're doing it for a collective purpose. But it's very important to realize that even when we are talking about operating from the premise of collective ego, it has some vested interests. When we listen about or get to know or hear in the news about some riots happening, what is that? Because अगर एक वो इंडिविजुअल कर रहा है तो वो उसकी ईगो है, बट अगर वो पूरा का पूरा सेक्ट इकट्ठा होके कर रहा है, दैट इज द कलेक्टिव ईगो एट प्ले. So that's even more worse, even more devastating. Because अगर वो कल्ला इंसान करेगा तो chances are, you know, police can catch him, he can be overpowered. But if it's the collective ego at play, I mean, it can get crazy. And we've seen these cases in so many, times where Muslims ने ये कर दिया, गुजरात में ये हो गया. What's that? That's nothing but collective ego at play. So it's all the more devastating. What is more important is to have these collective groups for upliftment, for the upliftment of planet Earth. And what we do here, like I always, like to refer to the group as a soul group. Okay, every book reading group is a soul group. So what is the intention of this group? Is to make each and every person more aware. Whatever is it that we are reading in the book, whatever is it that is being said through me, or whatever is it that we are all sharing and asking, or narrating, it's all part of that collective, which is to you know make each and everyone in this group more aware, and that is enlightened collectives. That's the soul group we have in all books we do. And this is not just limited to this book reading. Whenever a lot of people get together for a purpose to change that vibration shift of the planet by raising people's awareness through knowledge, through experience, through any whatever is the way, does not matter. But whatever is the end result is that everybody works on themselves, listens to new things, works on themselves, tries to raise his own individual vibration, own individual frequency by raising the level of awareness, by being consciously aware, and indirectly raising the consciousness and the vibration of planet Earth. That is the enlightened collective. And that is very, very strong in the last 3 years post COVID. Incontrovertible proof of immortality. Ego comes about through a split in the human psyche in which identity separates its two parts that we could call I and me, or me and myself. Every ego is therefore schizophrenic, to use the word in its popular meaning of split personality. You live with a mental image of yourself, a conceptual self that you have identified with. Life itself becomes conceptualized and separated from who you are when you speak of my life. The moment you say or think my life and believe in what you are saying, rather than it just being a linguistic conversation, you have entered the realm of delusion. If there is such a thing as my life, it follows that I and life are two separate things. And so I can also lose my life, my imaginary treasured possession. Death becomes a seeming reality and a threat. Words and concepts split life into separate segments that have no reality in themselves. We could even say that the notion my life is the original delusion of separateness, the source of ego. If I and life are two, if I am separate from life, then I am separate from all things, all beings, all people. But how could I be separate from life? What I could there be apart from life, apart from being? It is utterly impossible. So there is no such thing as my life, as I don't have a life. I am life. And I and life are one. It cannot be otherwise. So, how could I lose my life? How could I lose something that I don't have in the first place? How can I lose something that I am? It is impossible. So, I am life. I am that I am.